most people just aren't willing to pay the price up front and in full. They're like, oh, once I get the opportunity, then I'll do the work. Or once I make the money, then I'll pay the price. It doesn't work like that. You pay the price in the beginning, you do everything that you're supposed to with the right attitude, with the right amount of consistency, and I guarantee you, you'll escape from obscurity so fast that you'll be like,
Yeah,
what's going
yeah.
on here?
If you're feeling invisible and you're not doing those things also to showcase your value or to stand out, it will take you longer to escape from invisibility. So
100%.
those who want to escape invisibility have to stop being invisible. Connor, welcome to my show. Your next promotion from invisible to influential. You know, I like how you moved from UK to US, from coaching in the professional level, football players, especially Chelsea. I know many people are football fans, they know Chelsea, and you had a chance to coach them in close proximity. Something that I wished I did, but now I'm jealous of you. And the next thing you did when you arrived in the US, you also coached LA Galaxy, right? And
Correct.
after that, you decided to move away from all these things that most people wish for to focus on wealth building. I know there's a lot to learn from you, how you transition from your career in coaching to now in the financial industry. So I can't wait to learn from you. And I know anybody who has moved from a different country into this country knows exactly what it means to seek the American dream. So today,
Mm.
I hope everyone can benefit from your story. And anybody listening to this right now, stay tuned as I ask Connor my first question. So Connor, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me here, Felix. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I remember I met you probably 2, 3 years ago, and you're one of those friends I met once in face to face, and we stayed in touch. At that time, you had no baby. Now you are a family man too, so I can see the transition. So there's a lot
Yeah.
to learn from you, and I know the responses that you're going to give in all my questions will be balanced in family life, faith, business, and a legacy, building a legacy. So before we start, why don't you tell us who you are and anything interesting about you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first of all, again, Felix, I appreciate you for having me here. And good afternoon or good morning, good evening to the whole audience, depending on what time you're listening to this. So yeah, a little bit about I'll give you a quick little brief intro into myself and my background. So just in case any of the listeners are wondering about the accent, sometimes you will hear the accent like, where's this guy from? Is he from Australia? At least all my American friends like that's
Yeah.
what they say. So I grew up just outside London, in a place called Kent. And like you mentioned, my background, I used to coach soccer or football, depending on which side of the pond you're from. All of my
Mm-hmm.
family and friends back home, whenever they hear me use the word soccer, they cringe and message me after and make fun of me for saying soccer. But so yeah,
Yeah.
I used to coach with Chelsea Football Club. I coached with Liverpool for a little while, and then I actually got a job with LA Galaxy, which is then what moved me from London to California back in
Yeah.
2019.
Can you describe one of your most memorable experience, especially as you seek talent and you see them come in and play and make their countries proud? Because in Chelsea, people are coming from different countries and they're
Yeah.
playing for this one club. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. There was a lot of international players that would be there, and England and London itself is a very much a melting pot of different culture, ethnicity, and all of that stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But probably one of my most memorable experiences, because I was working with like I was in the pre-academy,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing a lot of like the community level type stuff with Chelsea Football Club. But one of my most memorable experiences working with Chelsea was actually they took me international. I got to go to Greece, and I worked like in an academy there for about a week doing like one of their international camps, and it was one of the first experiences I got to, actually travel the world and see more of the world doing what I loved, which was coaching people and coaching soccer at the time. And so that was just like a really incredible experience for me. Being able to go across the world, represent Chelsea Football Club, and just get this experience to like travel and see more of the world and interact with international players from across the world that were there on that camp at that time.
That's a wonderful experience when you work for a company and through that you get a global experience where you can
Hmm.
travel from, so within Chelsea you travel to a different country, and with that experience came to another opportunity for you to move to the US to coach
Yeah.
LA Galaxy. How did it feel for you to move away from home, leave everything to come to like a new country and to
Yeah.
coach LA Galaxy?
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, it was something I've always had a well, I guess not always, but from a young age, I've always had a perspective that the world is so big. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to just spend my whole life staying in one small town. And I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a pretty small town. There wasn't a ton going on there. Wasn't like the the culture there wasn't like super ambitious. People kind of just, they just lived their life and they were content doing what they were doing. But from a very young age, I've always had bigger dreams and bigger aspirations. And one of the things about travel is that it's one of the most mind expanding and mind altering experiences that one can go through because you're just
Mm-hmm.
exposed to totally different perspectives in life, totally different way of living, totally different way of thinking altogether. And out of everything I've done, traveling has just been, probably one of my greatest learning experiences. Now, coming to the United States, coming from England to the US, there's a lot of similarity in terms of the culture. So there wasn't like a massive culture shock.
Yeah.
I've noticed between England and America, there's a lot of small differences, like language wise, for example, how to make an adjustment, calling things like football, soccer,
Yeah.
or
Fries and
or
French
saying
fries.
restroom instead of toilet or something something like this. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, it was a pretty natural transition. Actually, my first experience coming to the United States was back in 2016. I worked with a company called Challenger Sports,
Mm-hmm.
and they do summer camps where they would bring British coaches to America. My first experience was actually going to Cincinnati, Ohio, and it was a most wonderful experience because I would live with a different host family every single week, and every Sunday I would then show up to a different location, meet a family, live with them for a week, and be immersed into like a true American family experience. And the people in Ohio at Cincinnati, I guess they don't get a lot of people from abroad that come and visit there very often. So me being there with a British accent, it was interesting. Anytime I'd talk in public, people would turn their heads and ask if I knew the Queen and things like this. So it was a pretty it was a pretty funny experience.
You are like a celebrity.
It felt I like what I imagine that would feel like sometimes. I remember one
Yeah.
experience going to a Cincinnati Reds game, and the guys like walking up the stairs calling out for hot dogs and popcorn and things like this, and I shout across for some food, and then the whole three rows right in front of me like turn their head and like, where's this guy
Who
from,
who is
basically?
that guy? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. It was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. The first question that most people always ask me, the first thing that they ask is, "Where are you from?" Right after I start
Mm,
speaking. So I'm sure you got that too. Like they will
I get it
they
all
will
the time.
ask you that. So that's an
Yeah, I always
experience.
make a game out of it. I'm
Yeah.
like, where do you think I'm
So
from? I play a guessing game with them.
yeah, guess from the Queen. Yeah. So that's quite an experience, and I can see a diverse global experience there. That whatever you did at the soccer game, your trip to Greece, and then coming to LA, and then this experience of living with host families after host families, and going to the games with them. That sounds like a good uh, life experience that many people wish they had. And actually, where that becomes important is as you go from country to country or from new places to new places, you just blend in and you can connect more with people. And I remember that's how we met. The event was over and we are all walking out of the door and we exchanged contacts. That's it.
Mhm.
We just exchanged, we say, oh, I'm just here in town for a few minutes and maybe we should catch up like next time. I think I told you I have a podcast too at that time. I forgot what we talked about, but that's what made it simpler to connect with someone like you. And as you go from these places, you are seeking, you are probably recruiting players, right? You are looking for talent, and then you're recruiting the right players who are going to be performing and putting the team at the level that the coaches expect. Can you tell me your experience on the recruiting process and how that relates to your business now?
Yeah. And actually, I'll tie it in with something that you just said, because this actually goes all pretty much hand in hand. You said that like everybody would love that opportunity, or everybody wants that opportunity to come to the United
Yeah,
States.
yeah,
What's very interesting, Felix, is that that opportunity was actually presented to me as well as about 150 other
yeah,
students at that time when
yeah,
I did a degree in football studies in Southampton Solent University. And 150 plus students were presented the opportunity to go and travel to the United States and have this exact experience that you just said. Man, everybody would want that opportunity. There was
yeah.
maybe 3 or 4 of those students that actually took that opportunity.
Only few people do that.
Only a few people take the opportunity. So like, and a lot of this has to do with then like when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to identifying talent, one of the biggest things that I look for and what I had at that time was desire.
Yeah,
Like I just had a hunger to do something big, to do something great. And oftentimes this is one of the big separators between a lot of people, where people are presented a life-changing opportunity, but only a few people act on that opportunity. And a lot of it comes down to like, how bad do you want something? Like
yeah,
if something, and is it a must for you?
yeah,
Most people, they have a lot of things that are a should for them. Like, oh, I should be fit. I should pursue this career. I should go back to school or whatever it is. But it's not really a must for them. And in
yeah,
life, we don't get the things that are just a should. We get the things that are a must for us.
yeah,
And so this is actually one of the biggest things I look for whenever I'm talking to individuals, whether I was recruiting them in the world of soccer or now if we're talking about recruiting into the world of business. The thing that I'm always most fascinated by is
yeah,
vision. Like, does this
yeah,
individual have a vision? Without
yeah,
vision, people perish because it's
yeah,
vision that gives birth to desire.
yeah,
And someone has a massive desire to do something, they will figure it out. They'll learn the skills. They might not have the resources, but if they're hungry enough, they have enough desire to do something, they're going to figure it out. Like,
yeah,
even I'm thinking in your story, Felix, coming from where you went to the United States and overcoming the different hurdles you overcome, like to do that, to migrate to the United States requires a level of desire. I'm sure
yeah.
other people where you grew up were presented the same opportunity. Not everybody captured the same opportunity that maybe you were given.
Yes, yeah, that's very true. And some people might have vision, but they might not have the desire to take the right type of action. So
Mm.
that's why I actually tell them vision without action is like a bicycle without wheels. Like
Yeah,
you have the vision, but you can't go anywhere until you
it's
take that
true.
one action. Yeah,
It's true. And the other side of the coin of that, because that's true, vision without action doesn't do anything. Um,
yeah,
but I also believe that vision is a key part to taking action. I'll
yes,
give you a little quick story of this. There was a time, this was back in 2022. I was
yeah,
experiencing a pretty dark moment in my life at that time. My mom had just passed away, and I was down. And I had a conversation with a mentor. We were actually in Hawaii at the time, And he was talking to me and he was giving me some wisdom and some guidance on some things. And he was asking me, he was like, Connor, when you were trying to make it as a professional soccer player, um, did you ever were you ever counting the hours? I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I was never counting the hours. Like, when you woke up in the morning, what were you thinking about? When you went to sleep at night, what were you thinking about? And I was thinking
Yeah,
of the dream of playing professional. And he
yeah,
explained to me, he's like, well, it was that dream because you were focused on the dream, you couldn't help but do the work.
yeah,
And he said to me that, Connor, if you focus on the work, like just doing the work, you're done for. Like, you're not going to have the willpower to maintain doing that. It's very
yeah,
difficult to do that. But when you're focused on the dream, you can't help but do the work. If you have a compelling vision for the future
mm,
and it
yeah,
excites you enough and you can make it clear enough, and then you obviously need goals and a plan, but then that's what then propels the action. Without the vision to do it, though, there lacks desire, and therefore people just kind of get stuck doing whatever it is that they're doing in the moment. They don't have any real kind of direction, let alone are they taking consistent action towards something.
I agree, 100%. I know people might have a vision like in a singular, like people might think of vision as a singular thing. But
Mm,
what I realized is actually vision is multidimensional. And the
yeah.
reason why they say no, when you present them with opportunity, they say no to something that actually might be part of their vision, but it's just that they haven't thought of it that way. So that's
Mm,
why I came up with actually 7 vision lenses. And one of
mm,
them is a personal vision. The other one is a purpose driven vision. And then the third one is a short term vision. Fourth one is a long term vision. Then we
mm,
have the innovative vision and transformational vision. So when you can give your vision a name, like when you can say, this is my personal vision, this is my purpose driven vision, this is my long term vision. So when you come to them with an opportunity, for example, and they check on their vision board, is it on my vision board? If it's yes, you take it right away. If it is no, then you assess it to see how it fits in your vision and you reject it if there's no alignment. So I thought thinking of vision from that 7 lens perspective might help some people have that desire to accept whatever we are telling them or whatever somebody is advising them to do. So
mm.
vision is powerful part of the journey.
Very powerful.
So I was asking you about how you can go around recruiting people, and you were recruited, and out of several hundreds, you had some type of vision that
Hmm.
allowed you to accept the journey, whether it's a struggle or whether it's something easy, but you still accepted it because you are moving in the direction of your vision. So tell me about how your experience with recruiting actually has shaped the vision you have even for your business today how you're recruiting people.
Mm. Can you repeat the question? How my
How
experience with recruiting has shaped my vision?
how your experience with recruiting has shaped the way you are recruiting people even within your own business now to
Mm,
align with your vision. How do you know this is the right guy for you? How do you know you have a skill to see this is the right guy through your recruiting process? Even me, I wanted to be a soccer player and I
mm,
sent the coaches in colleges a CD. I never got anything into the D1 schools. So I ended up in the D3. So I have my own lost ambitions or like forgone ambitions. But coaches have a specific way of seeing the right talent and recruiting the right talent, just as leaders have the right way, the right mindset of seeing the right talent and hiring them to help them accelerate their vision.
and I feel like there's a couple of different ways I could answer this question. One, in the sense of like, so when it comes to recruiting, you
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I've heard this piece of advice even given in like the world of dating. Like if you're single and you want to have a spouse, like write down the
Uh,
qualities that you're looking for
checklist.
in a
Yeah.
perfect spouse. The same thing when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to recruiting. Write down the perfect traits that you're looking for, whether if you're in the world of sports recruiting, you're looking at a certain player, like what are the perfect traits that you're looking for? Same in
Yeah.
business. I have different profiles of individuals, certain character traits that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And once you do this and you have these things written down, well, there's something called the reticular activating system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a filtering process in your mind that filters in information that is most important and most relevant to you. Because
Yeah.
in life, we don't really kind of experience the world. We experience the world that we focus on. So whatever you focus on, you give it energy and you actually bring about more of what you focus on. This is why people that, two situations can happen to the same situation can happen to two different people. They have two different perspectives. One you call it a negative outlook, the other you can call it a positive outlook. Both of them in the same situation, they choose very different perspectives to the situation. Therefore, they get completely different experience of life.
Yeah.
So that's one thing when it comes to answering this question of recruiting is like having very clear things that you're looking for. And that's in all things. That's the same when it comes to like you're trying to bring about a vision. Like you were saying, you need to have clarity of vision in different categories of your life. Now, if I'm understanding your question a little bit differently, and I'll answer this from a different perspective. When it comes to recruiting, I mean, I was recruited into business, and because someone gave me an opportunity, it changed my life completely. Like, and I'll give you a bit of a background, like why I even got into coaching and business, just for this to put some context into this. So the reason I got into coaching was because as a young man, I was a pretty troubled kid. I was a bit of a lost kid. I would act out and I'd misbehave, all really just seeking attention, ultimately, seeking
Mm-hmm.
love, ultimately. And I just didn't know how to understand that or seek it in a healthy way. So I was very misbehaved and I was headed down a very destructive path. But I had one teacher that changed my entire life, Mr. Ledbetter, when I was 15 years old, approximately. And this man changed my life because he just believed in me. He saw something in me that just really even wasn't there at the time. And it was his belief in me that inspired me. I was like, I want to be that teacher for as many other people as I possibly could be. That's what took me into coaching because I just didn't have the capacity to teach in a classroom. And that's what then ultimately led me to America. And then when I come to America, I'm like seeking ways to, I'm planning over this, I'm like seeking ways to understand money, to make more money. I was looking and I was open for opportunity. And really, by the grace of God, someone presented to me an opportunity into business. And it was a life defining moment. And I captured that opportunity with both hands and really haven't looked back since for a couple of different reasons. Was one, it just allowed me to be in a place where I could still help and serve people, but just in a greater capacity than I was when I was coaching or recruiting people in soccer. I was like, okay, I was caught in this crossroads of what's going to allow me to help people more. I could teach them how to play soccer and give them an opportunity to play soccer. That's great. But if I could teach them some of the different ideas, some of the different philosophies that we teach in business, that's going to have just a far greater impact in their life. And every day, I have this type of talent scout mentality. Every day, wherever I'm going, I'm looking for talent. I'm looking for good people wherever we go. And I have this type of mentality of, man, like what a blessing it is to be able to give people opportunity. Opportunity in my mind is worth its weight in gold. So it really is a blessing to be in a position where, you know, I get to be able to have that recruiting type mentality and to be able to give people opportunity like that on a
Yeah.
almost a daily basis.
I like that. My first job, my first corporate job, every company rejected me except after everybody was already taken, I got a call that some company wanted to interview me,
Mm,
and it was 1 hour away from where I lived. And the manager said that it's okay, I can do the interview in Google Meets. So
mm,
I I did this interview in my boxers and the suit just like this. Below was just my boxers. But I never met this guy. We just talked on Google Meet and I got the job.
Mm,
But so I felt like he gave me opportunity. And
mm,
also when I started working there, I did the best I could to be a good employee, to be a good professional, to excel in everything I do. And when he was leaving the company, he actually recommended me to be the engineering manager for for that engineering department. So I know exactly what you mean about when you work so hard to get the opportunity, and then when you get the opportunity, you continue to do the same thing, working hard and excelling in what you do,
yeah,
more opportunities will show up. And
100%.
a lot of people, and Tony Robbins has a quote about never leave the site of an opportunity without taking a decision. Never leave the site of an opportunity without taking a decision. And a lot of the times we are presenting with these opportunities and we just glance them, and it's a forgone option at some point. So I know exactly what you mean. But you must have a vision actually to for you to walk away for some of one of your dreams, which it was maybe to become a professional player, and you are still young at that time, and you get this other somebody that saw something in you, and you took that and you left this one thing behind. When people always have a hard time departing from something that they have always held in their hands for a long time. But it looks like you did that easily. Can you tell me about that internal struggle or conflict of accepting that opportunity and how you
Yeah,
managed it?
yeah, that's a very great question. And as you were saying something just previously, I
Yeah,
want to just come back to something you just said because I think this would be very valuable for you, for some of your listeners, especially just understanding kind of the context
yeah,
of like this show and what you're looking to achieve here. Um, there's one thing about so like when I was in university, like I said, there was 150 other students.
yeah,
And my mentality, because there's a lot of people here, like you're talking about like escaping from obscurity, right?
yeah,
The thing is that I truly believe that we actually have 100% control over that in a sense, because we can control two things. We can control our own attitude and we can control our own activity, our
okay,
actions. And so one of the things I did when I was in school, when I was trying to separate myself, competing against a lot of other people, trying to make it as a also as a professional coach, is I just would do the things that other people were not willing to do. I would show up with a positive attitude. In my first
yeah,
year, I would go and volunteer my time. You know, most people felt like that was maybe below them. But I would
okay,
go and do it. I would go and do, I would outstudy people, I'd outwork people, I'd outlearn people, I would out-network people, because I just
yeah,
understood that if I just do enough reps, if I have enough of a right attitude, I'm going to create opportunities for me. If I'm
yeah,
sowing the right seed, I'm going to reap a right harvest. Most
yeah,
people just aren't willing to pay the price up front and in full. They're like, oh, once I get the opportunity, then I'll do the work. Or once I make the money, then I'll pay the price. It doesn't work like
yeah,
that. You pay the price in the beginning, you do everything that you're supposed to with the right attitude, with the right amount of consistency, and I guarantee you, you'll escape from obscurity so fast that you'll be like,
yeah,
what's going
yeah.
on here?
If you're feeling invisible and you're not doing those things also to showcase your value or to stand out, it will take you longer to escape from invisibility. So
100%.
those who want to escape invisibility have to stop being invisible. Also,
Yeah.
and one example is by taking these chances.
Yeah, it makes me think of John Wooden, who was like one of the
Okay.
most winningest basketball coaches in college basketball
Yeah.
history. He had the definition of success that
Yeah.
it's the self-satisfaction in knowing you gave 100% of that of which you are capable of giving. He would say to his basketball players, "Listen, I don't care if we go and win the game." We might win the game 10-0 or whatever the score might be. But if you give 80% or 90% of your effort or 95% of the effort, you lost ultimately.
Yeah,
But we could go out and lose the game, but you know that you give 100% of that of which you are capable of giving, then you're a
yeah,
success. And the thing
yeah,
is, you do that consistently enough for long enough, the result will actually become just a natural byproduct. Whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whatever goal or dream you're trying to accomplish, it will become the natural byproduct of it. But most people just aren't willing to do it consistently enough for long enough. That's
yeah,
why it's actually so easy to win in the world that we live in today. It's so easy to separate yourself from the masses because most people just don't have the mental toughness, they don't have the discipline, they don't have the focus to win. And if you
yeah.
want it enough, you have enough desire,
That's such a great example there. And that quote is a great complement to what I think about self leadership because I think self leadership is the key to success. We can blame the environment, we can blame the system, we can blame our managers that they don't do what we want them to do. So okay, we can blame all of them, but usually people don't turn back to themselves to see what can I do to overcome that? They
yeah,
wait. So the reason why I say self-leadership is the key to success is because when you're self-aware of all these issues, you can actually, if you believe in self-leadership and you start working on yourself, all these things that are against you will not exist. They will exist, but you will overpower them. And that's the secret. And that's why I tell people self leadership is the key to success. So I just wanted to
so
add
good.
that. How did you know to make a decision between the thing that you loved, the dream that you had, your vision? Remember, your grandma or somebody told you about, or this teacher told you about, to focus on your dream. If you focus too much on the hard work, you might miss the destination of where you're going. But if you focus on the destination, everything becomes a journey to that destination. So
Mm.
you got a chance to come to the US for LA Galaxy to coach,
Mhm.
and then something that you loved. And also, you did that because one of your vision was to become a professional soccer player. But
That was the vision
somebody,
beforehand.
that was a,
My
yeah,
original vision was to be a player. That didn't work out. I wasn't quite good enough, so I settled for coaching instead.
yeah, okay. Now I get it. Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
some people try coaching to see if they can still get in, but their age is creeping in. So yeah, how did you know to leave football coaching industry
Yeah.
to doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, very good question. And it actually comes back to there's two things that come to my mind when you answer that. The first thing, it actually comes back to vision.
Yeah,
Because if you think about it just in terms of like a journey,
yeah,
if you know what the destination is, you have total clarity over that destination. I think about whenever I go on a road trip, I'm terrible at geography and remembering routes. So whenever I go, I pull up my phone, I put Google Maps on.
yeah.
My wife makes
Yeah,
fun of it. Like we drive the same route and I'm always putting
I'm
Google Maps
I'm exactly like you. I know the story you're about to tell,
on.
but go ahead.
Right? So, but
Yeah,
when you think about it, you put that destination into your mind and it tells you, Google Maps will tell you, okay, like this is the fastest route to
yeah,
where your destination is, and there's also some alternate routes.
yeah,
See, most people, when they're making decisions, they make decisions based on their current circumstance. They make decisions based
yeah,
on who they are today
yeah,
versus making decisions based on who they are becoming and where
yeah.
they want to be.
Yes,
So for me, for what I wanted, what my vision for the future is, the impact, the freedom that I wanted to create for myself, my family, I had clarity on that vision.
mm-hmm.
And then I looked at the two paths I had. One was continuing to walk this path of coaching soccer. And I thought about how that would play out. And I looked at people that were further down that road from me, what their
Yeah,
lifestyle was like, their impact. I looked at the whole thing. And after observing that, I didn't it wasn't really going to get me to where I wanted to be. But then I look at the path of business and I was being introduced to different mentors and exposed to different individuals that their lifestyle and their impact and their contribution in the life is exactly where I wanted to be. So I looked at it, if I look at it from just a very practical perspective, that's how I figured it out. But from a bit more of a different perspective, one of the things that I've really grown in my years recently, especially, is in my faith life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, at that time when I was making that decision, my faith wasn't so strong, where I'd pray about it, but I had an intuitive feeling that this is the decision I should make. And looking back over it now, with this perspective I have on faith, it was really the Holy Spirit that was working through me and guiding me and talking to me through my emotions that this was the path to take. So now when I have decisions, I'm making it with the end in mind, but I'm also making sure that I'm praying over it, spending time in
Yeah.
prayer to figure out, okay, what is the right path for me to be able to walk down?
Yeah, I like that. Before we started the podcast, I almost interrupted your prayer. You prayed, I saw you looking down and actually praying for the session. I haven't seen any of my guests do that. So
Mm.
that's a powerful guidance. And we'll talk about legacy shortly, but what you're saying basically, if you want to, maybe before I mention anything, when you are describing how you made this decision and you talked about the GPS,
Yeah,
where you can put in the destination where you want to go. It can, your car, you can miss your turn. Just go
sure.
around and follow the GPS. You can have an accident. Okay, you go over that accident and you keep going to your destination if you are safe, not to the hospital, because the destination might change because of that. But that's still part of the journey. And then you talked about people think their present circumstances when they're making decision, and that's what I call the short-term vision. When people only focus on only one vision, for example, like that, but you
Mm.
also zoomed in, you actually zoomed out all the way and you looked at a long-term vision and you saw that's where I want to be. So you
Yeah,
played a yeah, you played with long-term vision
yeah.
and of so and then you come to your faith, where you said your faith helped you. That became part of your personal vision also, where you wanted to
Mm.
be. So you can see how if I can keep describing or peeling the onion about how actually people make this, how you made your decision actually is, I can name it: personal vision, long-term vision, short-term vision. That wasn't in alignment and you took something else. So
Mm.
most people don't really see it this way. And I like how you broke it down. Hopefully,
Mm.
I'm just over explaining now for our viewers to see the different decision points that you went through. You still had to accept a path where you saw there's a vision there, but between that vision and after you accepted that new path that you're going after, things are not always going to be smooth enough. You still have to put in the hard work in it.
True,
And you're saying that you can't do that alone unless you have faith.
true.
Uh, Tell me, how has faith guided you, especially in your life as a business professional and balancing life with family?
Hmm. Yeah. Very, very good question, Felix. Um,
Yeah,
especially so I grew up in a so I actually grew up in the Catholic Church.
yeah,
But it wasn't a particularly, I didn't have a much of a relationship experience. It was more of a religious experience. Um, and so I kind of moved away from that and I explored a lot of different things. It's really only been in the last 18 months to 2 years that I really tapped into my faith and I got baptized at the beginning of the year and committed my life back to Jesus Christ. And now, prior to that, I would try and be the guy, and I would be the one, and it's all about me, and I'm the one making it happen, which, to be honest with you, puts so much of a weight on my own shoulders,
yeah,
and it makes it so much harder.
yeah,
But since really tapping back into my faith and really trying to be equally yoked in that sense of my life, that has lightened my load because I that it's not just me. It's not just me that has to do this, that there's my creator that's guiding me and walking me through. I just need to keep my eyes on the Lord. It's like when
Yeah,
Peter was in the middle of the storm and the storms all around him, he was able to walk on water. But as soon
yeah,
as he took his eyes off the Lord, he began to sink and drown. And it's very much the same. Like I've gone through many different storms. Like we could spend a lot of time. I could tell some of the different stories of things. Like in my early years of business, I was literally homeless.
yeah,
I went through a lot of really challenging times. And to be honest with you, I'm still going through different challenges. Like when it comes to life, the adversities and challenges don't go away.
yeah,
They actually get bigger,
yeah,
but it's just that your capacity to be able to handle them grows as well. Like in the beginning, if I just put it in terms of dollar value, you might experience a $10 problem and that it's a big deal for you to deal with that problem. But if you
yeah,
can't handle a $10 problem, how do you ever expect to be able to handle a $100 problem or $1,000 problem or $1 million problem?
yeah,
I want to be able to handle $1 million problems, but if I can't handle $1,000 problems right now, then what good is that? That's why, like in every season, there's a sense of preparation, and I
yeah,
believe that God prepares us through different seasons for the next season to come. In fact,
yeah,
one of my favorite pieces of scripture is from the book of James, one of my favorite books in the Bible, so much so that I named my daughter Ella James, after the
nice, yeah,
James's brother, Jesus' brother James. And one of the first verses in there it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, experiencing trials and tribulations of all kinds, because it develops perseverance and helps us to
yeah,
grow in our faith." I'm
yeah.
paraphrasing.
It's a powerful, yeah, powerful scripture
Yeah.
in terms of faith. So yeah, you're describing how your faith has guided you in, you
Yes.
say like equally yoked. I'm thinking you're talking about your faith and your business and also your family. I'm
Yes.
guessing all those. I think that's
Yeah.
a
When it
powerful
comes
way to
to
put it. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and when it comes to the family side of things, I didn't want to be the guy that built a business at expense of his family. I see
Yeah,
it unfortunately all
yeah,
too often. There's many people that have been able to build very successful businesses, and they're a
yeah,
public success but a private failure
yeah,
in their family life and in other areas. And so I always wanted to build something where I got to have it all
yeah,
where you'd mentioned before this call you was looking at a video on Instagram of my wife and my daughter being on stage with me. That's
yeah,
something that's incredibly important. I want my family to be alongside me with everything I do. So when we travel, which we're very blessed, we get to travel a lot for business and other things.
yeah,
I always bring my family with me whenever possible, and I want them to be in that environment. I want them to be in an environment where they're being exposed to this, where
yeah,
my wife is basically my COO. She runs the whole operations of our family and of my life and of our business. Without her, this whole thing doesn't run. Like like I'm just kind of the front man of the operation.
yeah,
But then I want my daughter, like oftentimes I'm doing different Zoom calls and whatnot, and I got my daughter right here with me, and I'm just making things happen as a family. And I think that to me is very important, but I also want other people that I'm speaking to see that too, that I'm not
yeah,
separating my family and my business, because I want to be an example in my faith life. I want to shine my light so brightly that others see
yeah.
my good deeds and glorify the Father in heaven. But I also want it to be an example of that in my family life where people can see is like, okay, it is possible to build a business and to have a family and to spend time with your kids and do it all together.
I remember watching that because I was preparing for our podcast. So I saw Ella James. I was wondering why James. So you answered my
There
question
you go.
why you chose James. And
Yeah.
then I ran into another video of you introducing your wife. Big screen, her picture is on there, and it's I can say I think it was like over 30 seconds of a clip that
Mm.
you emphasize on her role and in business and all those. So I see how you are saying you're bringing your family along. Uh, Before I talk about maybe something about family in your scripture, I know this. Psalm 127 talks about how people can, uh, you can work hard as you want. You can uh, get wealthy as you want, but all of that is nothing without God in your life. So so it's almost like people that focus so much only on business and work without bringing God into their life, eventually they perish anyway. So that's why it's important to have our God to help to guide us in this, because in business there will always be trials and tribulations which you will have to manage. In family there will always be all those,
Yeah,
but only one message can bring peace. So one message through God can bring peace in all this struggle. So I want to
true.
connect the dots to
And if
that.
I can add a little bit more to that piece, because
Yeah,
I think what you just said is extremely important and so true. And it's interesting, especially when I talk to people of faith. Um, I- and this is actually a big part of one of my missions is that I'm helping people of all kinds, but especially people of faith, because I notice that people of faith have a lot of limiting beliefs when it comes to money
yeah,
and business and success, where
yeah,
people will misquote the Bible, for example, and say that money is the root of all evil, or that successful people are bad, or wealthy people are bad. And they actually just need to read their Bible a little bit closer because it doesn't say that money is evil or the money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money
of money.
is the root of all evil. When you love money and use people, when you make money a master versus what it truly is, a servant or a tool that can be used to expand and grow the kingdom, then you got a problem. When you make anything an idol, whether it's success, whether it's the
Yeah,
stage, whether it's you, you've got a problem. It also says in the Bible that gluttony is a sin. But no one's around here saying that food is the root of all evil, are they?
yeah,
Not at all. But it's
yeah,
just when you make something an idol, when you put the order wrong, if you
yeah,
put anything above God, you've got the order out of whack. God
yeah,
first, it's
yeah,
family second, and then it's business third after that. And I'll
yeah.
say this too, especially for anyone of faith listening to this as well, because here's the thing, like there for those who maybe have a bit of a limiting belief about money, or maybe you do have a kind of a belief that yeah, money is bad. Well, here's the thing. I really truly believe there needs to be more good people of faith, of good values, of good character that are making a ton more money. Because if it's not God's people that have all the money, and whether we like it or don't like it, here's the fact. With money comes power. With money comes influence. And there's two choices. Either God's people has that money, the power, the influence, or if it's not in the hands of God's people, then it can only be in the hand of the devil's people. What would you rather it be? This is the question I'm challenging people of faith all the time to this. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
actually one of the most spoken about subjects throughout the Bible, one of the most spoken upon topics was the topic of money by Jesus and throughout the Bible. So I believe it's very important that we understand this area of our life, that we don't make it an idol, we don't make it the main thing, but we just use it as a tool to be able to expand the kingdom, to serve others, and to just ultimately progress humanity forward.
That's a powerful message for people to seek God and also to align their earthly desires in the right order, but putting
Yeah.
God first. So I think that's a great message. That brings me, actually, I was going to ask you something about how do you define success
Hmm.
now so your family benefits too. So I think you kind of answered that, or do you have a different answer to that?
I have two definitions that I subscribe
Okay.
to. Okay.
Yeah.
One was the definition I gave you. That success is the self-satisfaction in knowing that you
Yeah.
give 100% of that of which you are capable of giving.
Yeah.
The second definition of success I subscribe to is from Earl Nightingale. He says that it's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, meaning you
That's a
know
powerful
what
one.
you want
Yeah.
and you move towards it. In other
Yeah.
words, you have a vision, you know what the destination is, and you're walking on the path. You don't need to be at the destination. This is where a
Yeah.
lot of people get tripped up. They think that success is arriving
Yeah.
at the destination. It's not. The success is the journey.
Yeah.
Once you arrive at the destination, you get there, you're going to be like, okay,
Yeah.
what next? Or otherwise, it's going to be empty. How many times have you bought a car or bought a house or had some goal and you've achieved the goal, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, this really wasn't,
Yeah. Or
it didn't feel me. But it's
yeah.
the pursuit, it's the growth, it's forever expansion as a human being. You're continually growing, you're continually improving, and that's
Hmm.
where um, I believe that true success is found in you ultimately just growing and becoming a better person continually.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that response. I like the compounding, the small compounding, celebrating the small compounding effects towards
100%.
your journey or your destination. Your vision is what makes it successful,
Yeah.
not a
The
one
person
time
who
failure.
the person who loves to walk will walk much further than the person who
Yeah.
just loves the destination.
Yeah. So now somebody who has a coaching experience, somebody who has seen talents from different global experiences or from different countries, and somebody who has lived in homes. When you're going from home to home, you're staying with these
Mm.
families. You can actually, you told me earlier that you like to observe or assess leadership. I'm sure you also, as you're going from this home, one home to the other, you're observing their family life, their financial situation, their all those things. And I can see how that brings this create this full circle of financial literacy. So why is your work at Wealth Builders so important to you and to different families in America, or to those just like you and me who wants to live the American dream? Why is it so important for your legacy?
Yeah, very great, powerful question. Um, and there's so many different ways I could answer this question. So here's the first piece. Right now, throughout the world, there
Mm-hmm.
is a spiritual warfare that's taking place.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest ways that the enemy attacks families is in their finances. It's in their
Okay.
money.
Yeah.
Because the enemy understands, and here's a statistic that the number one cause of divorce in America, money,
Mm.
finances. The number one cause of stress for people is financial related. The enemy can break apart families, can keep you focused on in stress and in
Yeah.
survival. Then the state of which you're in isn't really the one for the the growth and forever expansion of the kingdom. It becomes like survival, it becomes just seeking like just your own basic needs and not really trying to care about other people. So all of these things that's at play. This again is why I believe that, one of the most powerful tools that we have um, to be able to progress humanity forward, whether we like it or we don't like it, is money. It gives us influence, it gives us power. And I believe it really needs to be in the right hands, the people of faith, of character, of good values. But one of the major problems in society today is people just lack education.
Yeah.
Like whenever I'm talking to people, I'm always asking about vision and dreams and what it is that they want. And what I've learned, Felix, is what everybody wants is always somehow connected to time freedom in some way and financial freedom in some way.
Yeah.
And now there might be a listener listening to this, like, I don't care about money. I just want to help people, for example.
Yeah.
Like, well, I challenge their thinking, like, well, how can you help people? Ultimately, there's two ways. You either give them your time in some capacity or you're giving them money in some capacity.
Yeah.
And even if you don't want money or you don't want a lot of things, material things, that's great. Make a lot and then give it all away. That's totally fine too.
Yeah.
Um, but again, one of the major problems is that people lack education. Everybody wants time and money freedom. Most will have no idea how to get there. In fact,
Yeah.
Felix, I would bet that you probably know some people that make great money, but they have no time,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I bet you know someone who has all the free time in the world, they're
No
unemployed,
money.
and they got no money. And then there
Yeah.
are a few people that have both time and money. Maybe we see these people in Hollywood, but then they're depressed, they're unfulfilled.
Yeah.
So the game of life is how do we have it all together at the same time? How do we have time freedom, money freedom, and a happy and fulfilled life? And so
Mm-hmm.
where what we teach is basically just three basic philosophies, that if someone
Mm-hmm.
actually learns these philosophies, applies them into the life, it'll take them to a destination of time and money freedom. And for me, when I started to learn these philosophies, it was something that had a very profound impact on my life because I've seen firsthand what happens to a family when they don't get the chance to learn. My own family really suffered and really struggled in this area of our lives. You know, my mum in her final years that she was with us, those years were a lot more stressful for the family than they ever really needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen how many other families they're going through their own similar struggles when it comes to money, and no one is teaching them. And the people that are trying to teach them are trying to sell them a course, a few $1,000s or whatever it is. So when I began
Mm-hmm.
to learn, one of the things that attracted me to it was that the education that they were providing me was at zero cost to me and is at zero cost to the consumer. Basically, they figured out a way to have the financial companies and the people, some of the companies in the industry pay them out of their marketing and advertising budget, which made all of these services, all of the education at zero cost. And to me, it felt like non-profit work because we had the opportunity to go out and teach it, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's for profit because those companies are paying us on the back end. So it
Yeah.
allowed me to be able to be of service, to coach, to impact, to have a massive impact in people's lives, but do it in a way where I was able to take more control and have more freedom over my own life at the same time. And so therefore, like you asked a question about legacy. Well, for me, like one of the overarching missions for my life is I want to become the best, the greatest version of myself and inspire other people to do the same thing. And, being able to teach them some of these different philosophies that we teach just
Yeah.
equips them with the ability to do that.
Yeah. I like that. Most people don't understand the the financial aspect of life. They
Sure.
understand the job aspect of life. Even like you are coaching people, uh, you have students who are playing soccer, they are focusing on soccer, and even in that environment, they don't teach them about money. I
Mm,
played varsity soccer every day, from class to the soccer pitch, from class to the soccer pitch, and I don't remember anybody talking to me about money. It was school and
yep.
playing, and people spend half of their life or most of their life of their education life without this. So I think what you're doing is powerful, and in I think your legacy is those people who can listen to you, for example, and take the action to understand the financial aspect of their life. And if their lives is changed because of that, and then they change somebody else, that's your footprint following you
100%.
way after you're gone. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And on that piece, Felix, I'll say this,
Yeah,
since we're talking about the topic, because in America, especially, there
yeah,
isn't a lack of financial services.
yeah,
But what there's a lack of is education about financial services. I
yeah.
would wager that pretty much every single one of the people listening to this call right now, they already have some kind of financial service. Could be a bank account, could be a 401k or a saving or a retirement account or some insurance of some kind. But I would also wager that 99.9% of those people don't understand how those services work.
Mm-hmm.
And Felix, if we're hoping that these tools that we're using are going to provide us stability and security for our families. But if we don't understand how those things work, do you think there's a risk that we could be taken advantage of?
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, what people have to understand is that money is a game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you don't know the rules of that game, or that nor do you understand that you're even playing a game, Felix, what do you think happens to people?
You lose the game.
you're going to lose the game. And this is why most people are losing the money game because one, they don't even understand that they're playing a game, and two, they don't understand the rules. They don't understand, for example, they're playing the game against the banks. And it's not that the banks have rigged the system, they haven't. It's an equal playing field. You can do the exact same things that the banks are doing for themselves. The only difference is they just kept the rule book from you. Like you said,
Yeah,
Felix, no one ever took the time to sit down with you and teach you any of the rules or the goals or anything about money. And this is exactly why we exist as an organization, just to empower families with an understanding in the rules and the goals of money, so that at least they have an equal playing field in which to play the game from.
I think I remember you told me one of the business sectors that has the most money is the financial industries.
It's true.
You remember that? You told me that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah, if you want evidence of it, just
I
go.
forgot how you
Yeah.
phrased it, but
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of money in money. It's the highest paid industry, it's the largest industry. In fact, if you ever want evidence of it, just go into any downtown of any city across America and just do this. You ready?
yes,
Look up. Look on the names of the buildings, and on the names of all of those buildings, you'll see the name of financial institutions. It's a good
yeah,
indicator of
yeah.
the industry that's
So
leading the way.
yeah, that's from the financial side. Let's go back to this the professional environment.
Yeah.
Why is it that going after your next promotion is very crucial in also solving the money game? Do you have opinion or any insight onto that when somebody listening to this right now also wants to get that next promotion, but maybe they feel stuck between making that move or staying in the same role or not taking that opportunity that is right in front of them, like we discussed earlier. Why is it important to go after that next promotion?
Yeah. I mean, for the people that are pursuing like a more of a corporate route and they're going from promotion to promotion, um, I mean, it just depends if you want to be able to make more money.
Yeah,
In order to be able to have more financial freedom, you need to be able to make more money. Ultimately, when it comes to having time and money freedom, there's really only one of two ways that you can get there when you break it down to the core. One, you figure out how business truly works. Not that you start a business and you're self-employed and you're still trading time for money, but you understand systems. See, most people don't understand that business is simply just a system that can make you money whether you're there or you're not there. That's why most people go into business, but they're stuck self-employed.
yeah,
Now, for maybe a lot of the listeners, because I know a lot of this audience is about pursuing a career path. So if they're not going to go into business, if they're not going to figure out how to create systems to create time and money freedom, the only other way that anyone is going to have time and money freedom is by saving and investing money and having a couple $1 million saved and invested to get there. Now, this is admittedly is a much slower route, but one of the best ways you can expedite that process is by earning more money and making sure that as you earn more money, you also save more of the money. A lot of people, they make more money and then their expenses go up and then they stay broke. But if you can have discipline to make more, manage your expenses, and save more of that money, you're putting more of that away. You're paying yourself first. You're paying the bill that's going to make you and your own family wealthy. Because Felix, you have to understand, whoever you pay a bill to, they become wealthy. People are paying bills to Netflix, AT&T,
yeah,
their car guy, their phone guy, whoever, they're becoming wealthy. The
yeah,
one bill that can make you and your family wealthy is like your own personal savings. And if you want to
mm,
break out of the system, if you want to free yourselves from a lot of the things that come with having to work a job or what that might be, you have to be able to save more. And to your point, if you get better promotions, typically that comes with more income along with it too.
yeah, yeah. What I see most of the time is people hesitate to take the right action that can give them that next promotion. Maybe it's
Mm.
something, it's one of their limiting beliefs that
Yeah.
actually stops them from taking that action. Or maybe they are used to an assignment where they must go to uh, somebody who will always get it done. So they keep getting the same assignment and assignment. They do it well and they're working very hard, but that is keeping them stuck. So that's why I wanted to share that um, for anyone to be able to seek or to get that next promotion or that next big paycheck, for example, they have to do more than just wait, or they have to do more for themselves. We talked
Yeah.
earlier about the vision. We talked about the definition of success. You mentioned two of them, and if you're not seeing any small milestones that is leading you to the next promotion, then already you're feeling stuck, for example. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to just discuss that the quality of life involves not only doing the job, but doing the job that you love and also getting recognized and getting promoted for that next role and also supporting your family through that.
Yeah. If you want to get paid for you want to get paid for more for what you're doing, then
Yeah,
do more than what you're getting paid for
yeah,
to begin with. And if
I
you do
completely agree.
more than you're getting paid for, ultimately you'll get paid more. But
Yeah,
again, most people are just waiting, like you said. You got to take the action first. You got to go above and beyond first. You got to separate yourself from everybody else first, taking the action, whether it's showing up earlier, staying later, just having a more positive attitude, just going above and beyond. And if you do that consistently enough, long enough, you know, whether it's the promotion that you're looking for in the current company or it's a lateral type promotion that you need to take, the opportunities will present itself. But you got to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If
yeah,
you grow in your leadership, you grow in your mentality and your thinking and your communication in all of these things,
yeah,
you're going to be a better fit for high paid
yeah,
roles.
yeah. And you know, and people do things not aligned with their passions. So, or they do, or they have a passion, but they're not pushing it hard enough. And that's why I always mention, the more you go after your passion, the more you share your passion, the more you get closer and closer to your purpose. And I'll use you as an example. You were passionate about soccer, like football. You were chasing this, and because actually you are going, I don't know if this is true, but you can tell me if it's wrong. But because you are chasing the soccer path, you ended up finding, actually, I asked you earlier about your legacy. You end up finding this journey that you are following actually led you closer and closer to maybe something that is more purposeful, not only about passion anymore. So,
Mm.
can you comment on that? How you feel like, or maybe do you have a passion, and how you feel like actually your passion brought you closer and closer to
Yeah.
something of purpose?
Yeah. Very good question. One of the I saw something from Warren Buffett, and he said,
Yeah,
whatever you're passionate about, do that as a hobby.
yeah,
Wherever you find a need, do that as a business.
yeah.
And see, the thing about passion is
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes it can lead you down paths that aren't going to take you necessarily where you want to go. So although it can take you in a certain direction. Like if you had told me a few years ago that I'd be working in finance, I'd be like, you are crazy. But this is actually one of the things that when I first looked at this, it was one of my major concerns. I was like, I'm not passionate about anything to do with money and finance and things like this. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the people I was speaking to at the time, he said, well, Connor, do you think the guy who owns 10 McDonald's is like really passionate about hamburgers? As an example, I was like, well, no. He's like, exactly. He's passionate about systems and business itself. He found things that he's passionate about within it, but ultimately it's about freeing himself up so that he could use now the time and the money to do the things that he's passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think identifying need is huge. But here's the thing, you could do something that you hate And if you get good at it, you will eventually become passionate about it. Like, let's just say, for example, you hate math.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the time it's because you're not very good at it. But if you actually studied it and got better at it and become competent and become skillful, you become a master of it, I would wager you'd actually become pretty passionate about it. So why not become
Yeah.
passionate about things where there's a massive need?
Yeah. Yeah.
For
I
for
love that.
me, like no passion about financial services at all, still really to this day. Well, I love it because people, it's the impact it's having, which is really the thing I was most passionate about was people, was impacting people. I saw the need of people being impacted in this particular area. That's what led me then. A big part of the reason why I went out of coaching soccer into this was because I was like, okay, the need is just so much greater.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if it's impacting families,
True.
like you mentioned. Yeah. You've talked about how passion can also lead you astray and not get you close to your purpose, and that's very true because actually it took me a while to realize this, but passion without purpose is wasted potential. If you just have passion and you're not actually doing something of purpose, you are actually wasting your inner gift, that talent that you are, whatever that uniqueness is, you are wasting it in exploring it in expense of what you're doing now. If you had one last thing to tell somebody listening to this, what will that be?
Mm. One last thing. I think the thing that just comes to my mind is that personal success is the ultimate rebellion.
Mm, personal
And what I mean
success.
by that is like just constantly being in pursuit of becoming the greatest version of yourself. So much of our world and so much of our society today wants to keep us enslaved in mediocrity,
Yeah.
wants us to be distracted, wants to take our time, wants to take our focus. Um, so you becoming better, becoming excellent, personal excellence is the ultimate form of rebellion. And
Mm,
this is why I love what it is that we do, um, because it's so growth orientated. And we just decided to be teaching and helping people grow in an area that I believe if they fix this one area of their life, their like financial area of their life, that's something that's going to then bleed into every other area of their life and ultimately give them the freedom and the resources they need to then grow, whether it's in their family life, in their spiritual life, in their business life, in career life. Um, and I'll say this for
yeah.
anyone who's there listening in the audience that like, okay, like I understand that I want to get to the place of time and money freedom, but I recognize that I'm lacking the education about how to get there. You can actually find me on different social medias at Connor_Watts on
Okay.
Instagram, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Connor Watts. If you reach out to me, then maybe it'll be myself personally or some of the people in our team. We can reach out to you and actually equip you with the knowledge, the resources, the understanding of what you need to make that a reality. And that's something that we'll give to you that's complementary to all your listeners here today.
I've enjoyed talking to you today, talking about your own career path from following what you wanted to become a professional soccer player to becoming a coach, coaching one of the biggest football clubs in Europe, and then coming to US and exploring the path to, I'll say, the American dream. And through that, you found vision. We talked a lot about vision. We talked about success. We talked about having the desire to take that action in alignment with your vision. And I liked how you started the podcast with praying. I almost interrupted you. And so that was very good to see. Not all my guests actually do that. So that shows how you're grounded in faith as a leader. And we also talked about financial planning, which is the enemy attacks the financial planning for most families, and that's the root of all problems that we see. And you are growing your legacy, teaching people about financial education. Thank you very much for sharing this. We did not get to ask you who's your favorite Chelsea player, because I know anybody who is a Chelsea fan and wants to know that. Maybe you can tell them now.
Well, it's funny because I'm actually a Man United fan. So, uh, but in terms of favorite Chelsea players, I mean, one of my favorite players, maybe of all time, is actually Frank Lampard. Brilliant player.
Yeah, Lampard is
There's a lot of different names that come to my mind as I'm thinking, but Frank Lampard was probably top of that list.
we couldn't finish the podcast without asking you that question, because it's an important one. Yeah,
Yeah, probably the most important.
yeah,
Just good.
yeah. Thank you very much. I think this has been a good show. And until next time, if anyone is watching this, make sure you start from the beginning to not miss anything. Thank you.
Thank you.